I am David Tuite. My name, I'm from Roadie. I'm the founder and CEO of Roadie. We've been around the Backstage community since about 2020. Maybe a small claim to fame for me is that I originally contributed the first catalog info YAML file into the Backstage repository itself back in PR 1822, I think it was. But we deliver a turnkey developer portal built on top of Backstage. So that includes things like scorecards, role-based access control, an improved UI, data model flexibility, and then scalability and maintenance. So you don't need to upgrade Backstage or worry about its reliability. We just do that for you. We have customers which range from maybe 100 engineers up to 3,500 engineers and include brand names like AstraZeneca, SumUp, Contentful, and globalization partners. But I don't want to talk about Roadie here all the time. I want to actually talk about some case studies of people who are succeeding with Backstage on Roadie. And so one example is Uplight. They are 250 engineers, and they came to us originally because they wanted to improve governance in their organization. They did this first by building catalog completeness. So they actually reached 88% catalog completeness within 4 months of starting on Roadie. They did that through working with teams individually to explain the benefits, but also through features that we've built on top of Backstage, like repositories in the catalog and decorators. Once they had catalog completeness, they worked to develop software standards that their org could understand and that they could roll out across all of their teams. They started looking at checklists that they already had and spreadsheets that they had lying around, and they built these into a set of 10 scorecards which covered topics like metrics, observability, logging, and general reliability. And then once they had an idea of what they wanted to build out, they implemented scorecards inside Roadie. Very quick process, and then used those to communicate the expectations to the team. And so you can see this quote here as an example of the type of results that they were able to achieve. And I believe this is something that most companies can achieve with Backstage, and is an excellent use case for getting value from the framework. Bailey Gifford, who are also here somewhere in the audience today, I hope, but another customer of Roadie, and they similarly are in a highly regulated industry, and for them ownership was really the key use case. They wanted to be able to draw a line between the teams who build software and the software that those teams own and operate in production. Again, they built catalog completeness in a kind of clever way, starting with the systems model rather than components, because they understood that if they got too granular too quickly, then they might get stuck. So they started off with systems, and we supported them through a flexible data model which allowed them to add additional metadata to the systems that they had in Roadie and display that in the catalog. And once they got the systems done, they worked on resources next and components and built out that granularity. They also used scorecards in a kind of interesting way to track this adoption and track catalog completeness and richness, and actually help to gamify teams to understand that they should fill out the catalog and understand the benefits of doing that. And one of the surprising things that they found was that tech docs also blew up in a similar way to maybe Spotify have talked about how they've succeeded with tech docs. Bailey Gifford experienced the same thing, and they have 304 docs. And this is maybe a year old at this point, so it's probably a lot higher. But tech docs also the standard way to do technical documentation inside Bailey Gifford now. And so we have a lot of stories like this on Roadie. We have many customers who are succeeding in the same way. And so a couple of months ago, we took a look at the Backstage community and ran our own survey to try and understand how self-hosted Backstage adopters are performing. And what we see there is similar to what Pia was just saying, broad success. So 75% of the companies that we surveyed report being at least somewhat happy with their Backstage implementation. 25% are very happy with their Backstage implementation. But what we also see is that there is somewhat of a high cost to achieving this success. So 70% of the companies that we surveyed have at least 3 dedicated engineers on Backstage and have been that way for at least a year. And it gets as large as 10 plus engineers, as you can see. So it does take quite a big team to be successful with Backstage, at least according to this data set. And so we want to constantly drive down the cost of being successful with Backstage. And so one of the things that we're doing now is announcing Roadie Local. This is an on-prem deployment of Roadie that any company can take. It's effectively a Helm chart or a Docker Compose file that we'll give you for free. And you can use this to spin up Roadie internally and get all of the benefits of scorecards, flexible data model, improved UI, 70 plus plugins out of the box, role-based access control, and everything else. You don't have to pay us for up to 15 users, and we want to use this to make it as cost-effective as possible for any company to start using Backstage and see the same success that we have demonstrated here today. That's all I've got. Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference.